After the takeover of Afghanistan by Taliban, US President Joe Biden has finally broken his silence on the Afghanistan turmoil. Biden struck a defiant tone and continued to defend his actions of troop withdrawal from the war-ravaged country. Now, amid scenes of desperation and helplessness in Kabul of people trying to flee the country and escape the wrath of Taliban, Biden addressed the nation and stood squarely behind his decision to withdraw US troops.
President of the United States of America, and the buck stops with me. I made a commitment to the American people when I ran for president that I would bring America's military involvement in Afghanistan to an end. While it's been hard and messy, and yes, far from perfect, I've honored that commitment.
Biden said this while American soldiers were trying to mount an evacuation from the airport while Taliban fighters flooded the city. He outrightly shrugged off all the criticism about the evacuation being a debacle. He said that the priority was to stop a war. He issued a stern warning to Taliban to not interfere with the evacuation efforts.
American troops are performing this mission as professionally and as effectively as they always do, but it is not without risks. As we carry out this departure, we have made it clear to the Taliban, if they attack our personnel or disrupt our operation, the U.S. presence will be swift and the response will be swift and forceful. We will defend our people with devastating force if necessary.
Biden blamed the Taliban's takeover in Afghanistan on Afghan political leaders who fled the country while defending his own actions. Biden went ahead to hold responsible the unwillingness of the US-trained Afghan army to fight the Taliban. However, he has vowed to the continuation of anti-terrorism operations in Afghanistan.
Our mission in Afghanistan was never supposed to have been nation building. It was never supposed to be creating a unified, centralized democracy. Our only vital national interest in Afghanistan remains today what it has always been: preventing a terrorist attack on America's homeland. Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight. If anything, the developments of the past week reinforced that ending U.S. military involvement in Afghanistan now was the right decision.
While calling the scenes in Kabul gut-wrenching, U.S. President has promised to fight against the atrocities women are set to face under the Taliban.
So I'm left again to ask of those who argue that we should stay, how many more generations of America's daughters and sons would you have me send to fight Afghanistan's civil war when Afghan troops will not? How many more lives, American lives, is it worth?
Biden, however, did not leave a chance to criticize Russia and China. He reiterated that a longer war would have benefited the two countries. This despite the fact that U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken did discuss this with the foreign ministers of Russia and China. Remember, both the nations have already stepped efforts to work with the Taliban.
We will continue to support the Afghan people. We will lead with our diplomacy, our international influence, and our humanitarian aid. We'll continue to push for regional diplomacy and engagement to prevent violence and instability. We'll continue to speak out for the basic rights of the Afghan people, of women and girls, just as we speak out all over the world. And our true strategic competitors, China and Russia, would love nothing more than the United States to continue to funnel billions of dollars in resources and attention into stabilizing Afghanistan indefinitely.
And for more on this story, Ira Spitzer gets us a report from San Francisco. Let's listen in.
I'm here in the city of Fremont, California, near the San Francisco Bay Area and home to the largest enclave of Afghan Americans in the United States. And for that community. It has been a very uncertain, a very anxious few days as they've watched the dramatic events unfold in their country. And the latest political development is U.S. President Joe Biden finally addressing the crisis, at least addressing the crisis since the Taliban entered the Afghan capital, Kabul, over the weekend. And what we heard from the president was a fairly defiant defense of his decision to draw down U.S. troops. And he sort of addressed some of that criticism that the retreat was chaotic and hasty, and that he had essentially turned the country over to the Taliban, with Biden saying that this was an eventuality that the U.S. had supposedly prepared for, that his administration had prepared for. Biden also blaming the Afghan military and government for the way that they handled the situation. But from the people that I've spoken with here on the ground, the Afghan American community, there certainly is a lot of blame to go around. Some people not happy with Biden, feeling that there should have been more of a better negotiated settlement with the Taliban. People feeling that it was a rushed exit from the country. But in any case, it will be a very uncertain few days as people here wonder about the fate of family members still in Afghanistan and the future of their country. Ira Spitzer, Fremont, California.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.